All right, everybody. Thanks so much for hopping on. If it's your first time, my name is Ransom. I'm blessed to have you here. And it's if it's not your first time, I'm so blessed to have you here as well. So in a nutshell, I'm a radiography student heading to my finals very soon. I'm also a medical writer, also a YouTuber. So today I have an amazing guest speaker. She's an amazing personality, and we have a couple of questions for her to, go through and share narratives for with the audience. So, Sia, how do you do?
Hello, 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 Ransom. It's such a pleasure to finally talk to you. I feel like I know you because we've been chatting with each other on, LinkedIn. So, to for us to just chat like this is like it's been too long, and so thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I love that. I love that. I love that. So, Sia, could you introduce yourself to the audience? So that the audience can have a snippet about who you really are. So,
Sure, sure, sure. So, my name is Syya Yasotornrat. I know, long last name. But I am the founder of Brilliant Beam Media. We are a social media management agency and we focus on B2B social media. So, we help businesses better articulate and connect and build communities for businesses to resonate with their targeted audience. So,
mm,
the way I like to say it, I'm the Tasmanian devil of fun and compelling content.
amazing. Tasmania is one of the states in Australia, right?
Yes, it is.
So you own a state now. Amazing, amazing, amazing.
Well,
So,
I mean, a Tasmanian devil is just like it's like an animal, and if you know,
woo,
and you're younger, so there used to be a cartoon character, and
yeah,
basically he would just like whip around and like walk into a space and do a big old tornado, and everyone around him is like blown away, like
oh
what just
my
happened
goodness,
here. That's me. I have that tendency to do that with people. So
very
they're like,
obvious.
what just
Quite
happened?
obvious. It's quite obvious, honestly. Thank you so much for introducing yourself, Sia. So we have a couple of questions for you to answer. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So the first question for you is, all right. So that draws me to the question I have for you because of that initial statement you made about being a Tasmanian devil himself. All right. So what made you to adopt the title Tasmanian Devil that produces entertaining and compelling contents? Talk us there.
Well, thank you so much. So, as much as I do, when people give you nicknames and you take on a nickname, it's other people giving it to you, right? So one day I was talking to someone and they're like, "Dude, you throw out so many ideas. You're like the Tasmanian devil of ideas." And I was like, "Oh, that's so funny." And it just kind of caught on. And so I'm a big, big fan of being curious in life. Like the more you can stay curious about questioning everything you see around you and enjoying the learning process, just the more fun you'll have and more ideas and perspectives can come out. So when I'm consulting with my clients, they give me a business challenge, which is how do I better communicate, right, to our targeted audience? And I will often come up with like tons of ideas, say, "Oh, well, here's your business challenges. Have you considered this, this, this?" And then before you know it, because I am an excitable personality, as we'll find out, I just like, for the lack of a better description, I would sometimes, if I'm not careful, I will just vomit like ideas at you, and it can be overwhelming at times, much like how Tasmanian Devil kind of left people like going, "What just happened?" So that's what happened. It's stay curious, and I'm a curious person and I get excited with learning, and then
Oh my,
that's kind of what happened with my name and my reputation.
amazing, amazing. I think content creators out there are gonna watch this video. I think having a nickname is amazing. What do you think?
Of course. Well, because as you know this too, especially as you are in the medical and healthcare profession, right? If you can connect with your patients, right? The way to do it is have them get to know who you are so they can trust that, oh my gosh, I'm in good hands, right? And when you're doing the writing, right? You know, medicine in general can be very cut and dry. It can be very cold at times, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but in America, there's this like joke, if you want to call it that, we say, oh, doctor with their bedside manners, right? Is, doctors have a tendency to walk in, look at your chart and be like, wow, you lose weight. That'll solve your problems, and walk out and you're like, well, thank you. Like, what just happened, right? So like, oh, wow, you're about to die. No, obviously I'm not saying that, but there's a briskness about it. And I think with what you're doing right now is putting yourself out there, right? Who are you, Ransom? Right? And that's where I think there's the opportunity for, businesses to actually build that similar profile or personality, right? Because your company does have a soul. I hope companies have souls, but anyway, we know.
You know, that nickname is what keeps you going.
It
Oh my
does.
goodness.
Because you know why? If you're always curious and you're always learning, you're always going to come up with new ideas, right? You, like I said, because you're a writer, you got to write stuff. You got to come up with new ways to articulate some difficult concepts that most people go over their heads, especially if they're not if they're educated like you. We're not going to understand your terminology, but you have to articulate in words that, simpletons like me can go, oh, I get it,
Yeah. That's why we need medical writers. I love that, Syya, because not everybody that's in medical field has, come across that journal you published or that article or whatever. So that's why we use, because there are a lot of jargons in medicine, or even in radiography, my course. There's a lot of jargons that if I blow it right now, you will literally go, what's this guy saying? So I have to, as a medical writer, I have to lower my standards, to use, um, remove the jargons and, put in like a word that is, understandable for the audience. For instance,
Right.
I always use these instances. For instance, high blood pressure. You know what that means, right?
Right. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what if I say hypertension? Hypertension.
it, it doesn't feel connected. You know what I mean? Hypertension doesn't it's like, look, you need to stop
It's not
stressing
giving.
people. Yes. I mean, I think hypertension, is more common, like a term. So I think people get it. But
Get
yeah,
it.
but yeah, again, it's what's the other word? Like, what's a hematoma, right? Is a
Oh
bruise,
my. Oh
right?
my
Like,
good.
you got a bruise, like you got an owie. We can see it, but you know what that is, right? It's internal bleeding, right? So, but yeah, I, so
Amazing.
I used to be in technology, and so I was in tech sales. So I understand 100% when you're talking about jargon. Like, no one wants to know acronyms. We don't care. We don't care what your own company's internal, you know what I find jargon is? It's like the equivalent of, have you ever seen couples that they're really cute together and they're like, "Oh, I love you, wubsy boobsy boo boo," and you're like, "Yeah, I don't need to hear that. Like, just say I like you. Thank you, my partner." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to be part of your language.
Yeah. No, I'm not just interested right now.
Sorry. I warned you. I was going to distract you, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sia, for talking to us today about what made it to adopt that amazing title that suits you. That produces entertaining and compelling content. So that draws me to the next question for you, Sia. So how do you keep your content fresh, engaging, and fun while staying true to your unique style? Yeah, that's one thing I like about you with your content. Like I said before, you have a unique style, and you're also being authentic, real to yourself. Other than people that they have a unique style, but they're trying to like being someone else, which is not really acceptable. So talk us through how do you keep your content fresh, engaging, and fun at the same time while staying true to yourself with your unique style. Talk us through.
Well, thank you. Thanks. So, I say this to everyone and it sounds generic. I get it, but it really is true. Is what is your why? Why do you do anything in life? Not just social media. What drives your behavior to do certain things? What gets you out of bed every morning to say, I committed to this. I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm getting up. And so one of the exercises I give my clients, again, this is corporate as well as my personal branded clients, okay? Is what's ultimately ask yourself why questions. And once you kind of answer each time you say, why am I doing this? It's not to say I want a million followers or I want to hit my, key performance indicators. That's the what. That's objectives. Why do you do something? Is something I literally say jokingly, but it's true, is something that when you finally get to an answer that makes you cry or feel some kind of emotion, because that's what I call fire in the belly. Because a lot of times when you're doing something, if you don't have an emotional connection to it, you're going to give up. You're going to say it's not worth it. Why am I talking to myself? You're a content creator as much as I am. I post content where I get like 5 views, but it doesn't deter me to keep going, because those 5 views right now might turn into a million views 10 years from now. You never know. And if it even helps just one person, how valuable is that, right? To me,
Mm.
as my why is, if I can help people create a legacy for themselves such that in this digital age that we're in, that to me is like a gift that is for future generations. So I don't know if you have children, Ransom, but to me, for me, helping again people and businesses alike create that legacy of who they were, what makes them tick, what makes them laugh, what makes them cry, what makes them angry, whatever, right? Future generations will get to see you in your own voice, hear your own voice, see your own voice, whatever, face, noggin, whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
That to me is a powerful reason why to do something. Now that's my own why. That doesn't mean why to you. Why to you could be like, because I love my dog and my dog is my everything, right? It just varies. So you have to know who you are as a person to know why you're motivated to do something. And that's why, if you stay curious, as I'd mentioned earlier, and open to hearing new ideas and perspective, you'll always be fresh. You'll always be
Mm.
relevant. You'll always, you know, have fun, because funding, learning is fun. I feel like I'm like a public service announcement. Learning is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to say that's why, I love the fact you mentioned about, like you posted a content like on YouTube and you just got like 5 views. That's not going to keep your heads up because you be like, nobody cares about my content. But in real fact, to be honest, nobody really cares about your content. So that's why Sia told us that you need to find your why. Because, for instance, on YouTube, creating content on YouTube, to be honest, is not really an easy path for
No.
someone to paving. If you're not really having these two things, having a supporting system and finding your why, I think you're gonna just drop, because YouTube is a place for patience. Like you need to be very patient. You just come down, just blow up like that. No, unless you use the shortcut, because people nowadays buy views, buy subscribers, and all that. That's not what I'm saying. There is a time for everything. That 5 views, like Sia said, could turn to 1,000 views, could turn to a million views. So it's just a matter of time. Find your why and know your supporting system. Could be your family members, could be a friend, could be a partner, could be anybody that
Mhm.
always encourages you to do what you're doing. That's bring up something in you, to make you go further than what you're doing right now. So Sia, thank you so much for talking us through on how keep your content fresh, always fresh. To be honest, engaging
Well,
as well.
well, I will say it probably helps to have like again, have an open mind, and you don't have to be an extrovert. I'm an extrovert. obviously. Like I get excited about the simplest of things, but I think that's because, again, there's a lot of intentionality to social media. Some people do it naturally. Some people it's just natural. For others,
Mm,
you really have to like work it out and plan it out. So there's no one solution. You really have to know yourself, and
mm,
that goes into your personality, the way your brain thinks. And I would like to strongly encourage those that are more introverted, okay, that you're a little bit more private. That
yeah,
doesn't necessarily
that's
mean
me.
that
That's
doesn't
me.
necessarily mean you have to put your face on every single post. It could be like pictures of, like, a butterfly flying, and then you just happen to have a random thought. Or it could just be something where you saw something funny and you just want to share, that funny, story. It's about, again, you can share bits about yourself without having your face, front and center. You don't have to do that. So I just
Yeah,
want to encourage everyone.
yeah. I'm an introvert. I literally love my privacy. You know, that's what I said about supporting systems.
Mhm.
The introverts, we every steps we take is always worked out. We don't just take steps like that. And a I, whenever I post something like to add my pictures, it makes me feel. I'm always like, I also have a social anxiety sometimes, but I'm working on that. So yeah. Also, introverts out there, you just try to you know level up your your strands. Let me put it like that. So, Sia, thank you so much for that encouraging words. It means a lot to me and also to the audience as well. So that drives me to the next question for you, Sia. So, as a social media dowrer, amazing. What is your favorite part of sharing stories or ideas with your audience? But before that, talk us through how did that word dowry come about? Talk us through.
Daria. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it was really funny. So for those of a certain age, you in America, you may know a cartoon called Beavis and Butthead that came out in the 1990s. They did try to relaunch it in the 2010s, I think it was, or like like 2015, 16, I think it was. But long story short, Beavis and Butthead are the two main characters, and they're not the brightest teenage boys. And it's set in high school. And Daria is kind of like that dry observer of her high school experience, and she just sees through a lot of BS, if for lack of a better term. She could probably be a little bit more positive, but she's just that deadpan kind of thing. Obviously, I'm not deadpan, but I do smell BS very quickly. So when you're creating social media content, okay, for your business or your brand, you said it before, Ransom, it's about authenticity. It is about being true to who you are. Yeah, you can emulate styles, but don't emulate the creator, if that makes sense, because you're never going to be that creator. No one is going to be Ransom, right? Unless you have a twin, then that's a different conversation. But even amongst twins, you're not exactly alike, right? So as a and I say Daria of social media is really smelling through the BS, right? Of seeing what's real and what's not. Because you can post on social media for pure vanity purposes, okay? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But understand though too, for those that are kind of going for more of that ego driven reasoning for social media versus purpose driven, it's you're going to create a certain community to follow you, and you have to decide what's important to you, right? Like I don't mind saying it, like, the K family, the Kardashians, they don't care about the quality of their followers. They just want followers. They are willing to do whatever they need to do it. And granted, clearly they did something right because they're all rich, right? But that's their souls that they have to figure out if it was worth it for them. And I do challenge everyone. We're not all going to be billionaires. So what is it at the end of the day that's going to make you whole, make you proud of yourself, that you can look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, I did what I wanted to do and needed to do. You know what I mean? That you can live with yourself. So that's why I'm the Daria, because there are times, Ransom, I will tell clients, that's the lamest idea I've ever heard. And sometimes clients don't like to hear that, but to me, I won't ever say it that rudely. Sometimes depends if for clothes. But I will be direct to say, is really that the campaign you think is going to be effective for your business? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. Wow. Man, that was an amazing nuggets right there. See, and I believe that the audience now know the reason why that name is on your profile. So they'll be like, I was like, what does it mean?
Oh, you, the
Just
other
kind of
thing,
doubt.
yeah, it's I forget LinkedIn is global, right? And that's the other thing. When you're looking at social media, it is global, guys. There is no like, oh, I'm just gonna do it for my buddies. Like, no, once you're out there, you're out there. And that's why also additionally, if you're early on in your career, be very, very cognizant of what you're posting. If you are politically minded, if you are religiously minded, if you are, into topics that are quote controversial, understand it, and you can be passionate about it, and there's nothing wrong with that, but just understand, perhaps consider the words you use in your passion, right?
Mm,
I'm
mm.
not saying don't post or don't talk about things that you're passionate about, but understand how it will be received and perceived. So I just brought up you just made me think of another thing here, Ransom, is when you're creating content, here's a tip from Syya. Yes, you have to be authentic to who you are, but you are not creating content for yourself. Sure, you could if you want to, but you're really creating content for your audience. What do they value that you can bring to them? Right? What is your value to them? It's not look at me, I'm talking to you. You should love what you see. It's, again, unless you're a Kardashian, maybe that's what they do. But like you gotta understand, it's not about you. No one cares about you necessarily. They want to hear what you have to say.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Because this is what keeps me going. See, um, even though nobody cares about my content, nobody watches my content, I will keep making content. I will keep creating content. Even not you not watching my videos is what makes me to keep going. It's kind of like a drive for me, And one thing about me is I take time to do things. Like if it's gonna take me like 5 years to take that step, I'm willing to wait. I'm very patient in doing things. So that's also like an amazing nugget for the audience as well. You just have to be yourself. You don't have to be a
Yes.
villain. You just have to just be yourself. And the followers you're gonna get is not only just followers, they're just community, people like support you, they love what you're doing. It's not people like they don't even care, like they don't even interact with your post, they don't even watch. Maybe you just dropped a snippet about maybe you uploaded a video on YouTube, nobody watches it. No, once you're authentic to yourself and to your content as well, you bring people that are drawn to your authenticity and they're willing to as well support you along your journey. So
100. So
yeah.
just to clarify about YouTube, YouTube is the number one video platform in the world. Obviously, we won't talk about China and theirs, but
Oh,
in YouTube, in the YouTube universe that we live in, it is still the number one education platform. Meaning, when people are researching things, a topic. So let's say, for example, you might be the number one underwater basket weaver, in the world. If someone like were to type in Google to find who knows anything about underwater basket weaving, and by the way, if you are using YouTube, Google owns YouTube, so naturally they're going to feed into the algorithm. The fact that you're putting content out there on a platform that Google wants to encourage people to go to, you're kind of massaging the machine, if that makes sense. But
mm,
understand, when people are researching, they're going to look for you. They're going to say, who can help me understand, medical, concepts? Ransom, your name's going to pop up, right? Like, and that's like, don't underestimate that, your uniqueness. You could lean in and be like the student that cares to write, understandable words. But I don't know how the cool kids talk anymore. No cap. I mean, but like, that's, you could be that guy. I say go for
Amazing.
it.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for that. So, to the next question, see you. Oh my goodness. So, I think this question is a little tricky, but I know you're ever ready for it. So, what idioms do you respect the most often,
Oh,
and when do you think it resonates with you and your content? What do you have to say
so
about that?
yes, I do. So I have a couple sayings. The big one that I always use is, and I by the way, my idiom that I use, I say it wrong. Okay, so I'm misquoting, but the concept's the same. All right, and it's I say it because my brain, I need shorter words. Okay, but what I often write is all ships rise with the tide. So
Hmm,
if you've heard something similar, what that means is, when the tide comes in, you know all ships rise, right? So when you have a community that you've built up, or you're a part of a community, and then you want to help support one another, success begets more success. So if you are encouraging, you're supportive, and you are there for other people, karma, man, it comes back to you. So that's why I say all ships rise with the tide. Find your tribe, find your boat, dock, harbor, whatever you want to call it, that is going to help you grow, and you will help them grow. You're going to find so much more success and goodwill, and
hmm,
it just feels good, right? So all ships rise with the tide. So that's one of my favorite idioms that I just live by. Um and
amazing.
I pretty much quote it every day, more or less.
Amazing. I love that. I love that. You just have to, the good things you do to people also, bounce back to you. In some cases, it doesn't always work like that, but you just have to believe in yourself that if I doing a good thing, it will definitely bounce back to me as well. If I'm doing something good to people, people also do good things to me. So you just have to have that mentality about that. So thank you so much. I think, see, the audience have to have their own idioms that help them to put through in terms of challenging situation. What do you have to say about that?
I would love to hear everyone else's idioms. What is your favorite? What is there a saying in your
Hmm.
own country? You know what? Here's I love idioms like that you hear from worldwide, like because what you have, is, I'm sure, different than America, right? Even in the English speaking world, everyone's idioms are different, right? So I'd love to hear, where what is your favorite idiom, and how it affects you, because I might pick it up, and I might leverage that as inspiration to
Hmm.
better communicate. And then same, right?
Hmm.
If we hear each other's inspirations, it, again, all ships rise to the tide. We'll hear each other's inspirations, and maybe we'll be inspired together. So I would encourage everyone, lean into it, because that's also fire in the belly, right? Because my goal in life is, if I know I can help others do more, and be better, what a fulfilling life.
Absolutely. See, we want to hear your idioms, the audience. Feel free to put it on the YouTube comments below. Let's get inspired, guys. Let's get inspired. Thank you so much, Sia, for talking to Stu about the most idiom you respect the most, and how you think it's resonates with you and your content 100%. So we have some more questions for you to go, Sia. The fifth question is, what strategies do you use to balance fun and depth when creating content for different platforms?
Okay, so first and foremost, whatever it is that you're trying to communicate, always consider the audience. How are they going to receive it? Right? What value is of whatever you're saying? What are they going to take away from it? And the way to get the fastest path of people to resonate with what you have to say is to make them feel something. Usually, I lean towards the fun and laughter, because laughter is universal.
Mm,
But it doesn't have to be. It could be thoughtful. It could be insightful. It could even be make people angry, right? to like, I want to answer this because I disagree. And that's why a lot of controversial type stuff is popular on social media, because it evokes like, I need to respond back to this, right? So I would highly recommend for whatever you guys are wanting to talk about. Like for me, I have a lot of clients in healthcare. I have a lot of clients in technology. Two areas that could be very dry, very dry,
Mm.
or it could be like uncomfortable, right? So uh, I'll just use healthcare example because you're in it. Is talking about incontinence, for example, right? No one wants to hear, are you pooping yourself today? No one wants to hear that, right? But they do want to know that, like, hey, everybody poops,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And it's
absolutely.
okay. It's okay. And by the way, there's a great book called Everybody Poops. I believe it's written by Shintai Cho, if anyone wants to check it out. I think it was Shintai Cho. Anyway, or that could be the fart book. But anyway, the thing is, those are two books I remember from, like, this is now I'm dating myself, when I was a child a few decades ago,
Yes.
So just get that,
A long
find that
time.
emotional hook. You'll get people to pay attention.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. And you have to put, like, you have to be, when creating content, you have to be very snappy because people don't really have time. If you
Yeah.
just make it snappy, if you know what I mean. People don't really have time to, for instance, you write posts on LinkedIn, you just make it like, so you don't hit the nail on the head. You just keep writing, no, format that people could understand where you're really heading to. So you have to get the hook first, to keep the audience reading the more. That's like an addition to your content creation journey, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sia, for talking to us there about that.
Yes. Oh, you should have mentioned that earlier. Hook. Have that one opening line. For the love of
Oh
all
my
things, please, just one. Because you know why? You know, I don't know if your feel is TLDR, too long, didn't
God.
read, right?
Yeah.
Like, just get to the main hook, because most people just look at your image and then maybe read one line, and that's all they're interested. Now, again, if you're witty, you're interesting, then they'll hit that see more button, and then they'll read it.
Yeah, yeah.
I know.
I love that. Honestly, I love that. Thank you so much, Sia, for talking to us there about that. So we have the last question for you.
Okay.
Hmm. Okay, so in a nutshell, what advice would you give to someone out there trying to find the voice and creativity in the crowded space of social media? Because yeah, it's obvious that social media is really like very crowded right now. Trying to find your niche and make people to know you. It's kind of like very very challenging. So talk us through what advice you have for them.
Yes. So, okay, let me help put things into perspective, everyone. Okay. I understand the world of social media is noisy, it's crowded, but really think about it. Is it really? Okay. Think about the number of books that have been published since the beginning of, our writing publishing, right? People are still writing books today. People are
Yeah.
still very much creating, either they're, different forms of books, right? They could be novellas, they could be anime, drawn type books, right? It could be full blown, multi-series like Harry Potter or whatever. And think about all the different topics that are written for books. All that we're doing now in the age of social media is literally creating our own version of books today in digital format and video, audio, written blog, whatever. So people will always still be creating. People always will still be communicating. That's why it's so important to know who you are and who you're talking to, so you can find your tribe and your tribe can find you. Trust me, you guys, there is a lock for every key. That's another idiom, by the way. I just threw at you. There's a lock for every key. And I say this all the time. You may not have a billion people liking and following you, but think about it. And again, I'm being a little bit more protective in a personal business branding and business to business messaging. Okay. I'm not talking about your consumer content creators. That's a different beast. Okay. For the business oriented content creators, Think about why you're doing it in the context of what your results are. What influence are you trying to achieve? That is going to help you dictate, again, where you're going, right? Is content on TikTok of what you create really appropriate? TikTok's demographic tends to lean Gen Z, younger millennial. If your content is about, underwater basket weaving and there's no market for it, then why are you even bothering wasting your time for all that good stuff? So, I would give everyone that opportunity to say, yes, absolutely create. Just do it. Trust me. If anything, you're leaving a digital diary of who you are for future legacy. Okay. If you don't want to be that altruistic, think of it this way: knowing that the social media landscape is noisy, then pick
Mm,
the platform that's most effective for you. Don't do all the platforms. You're going to go insane unless you can pay people to do it for you, which people pay me to do. But that's not the point. The point is if your audience is on LinkedIn, which is again my audience core, then stay on LinkedIn. There's no reason for you to go to TikTok or Instagram if they're not there. Don't waste your time. Now, Ransom, for you, you actually are relevant and you go across the span. So I'm sorry, you still have to work, my friend. Go on all those platforms because you're in a very beautiful space. Seriously, what you talk about and who you are and what you represent, you can go across all of the platforms.
yeah,
You're
absolutely, absolutely.
so again, it's again whatever you're talking about, know who your audience is because social media platforms have very specific audiences. So that was the summary of what I just said.
Amazing, amazing. See, that was an amazing advice to the audience. To summarize everything I see it said, because a lot of information in one sentence, which is amazing. So, in the crowded space of social media, there is a space for you. The problem is how you gonna find it. It's just the summarization of everything. There's always a chance for you. If you want to start up YouTube now, there's also a space for you. You want to start up, create a LinkedIn account. There's also a space for you. You want to be like start up a TikTok account, wherever your inspiration draws from. There is also spaces for you. So you just have to find your niche and stay on it, stay and grow. I was speaking with one of my friends. Like he's a radiography student as well. So we're talking about starting a business is not the major problem, right? The major problem is how you gonna grow that business. If you try to like start like a bakery shop, like you make cakes. I'm talking about especially in Nigeria. You bake cakes, you
Mhm.
do meat pies, burgers and all that.
You're
How you
making me
gonna
hungry.
Yeah, how you gonna grow that business? You're gonna put in money on that business and it's not growing. That's like a loss to you. So it's not about I want to go on LinkedIn. I want to go on YouTube. Are you ready to put in the work? If you're ready to, that means the social media place that seems crowded for you, there is also a space for you. So thank you so much, Sia, for this amazing session. You've been an amazing guest speaker thus far. And if you want to connect with Sia, her LinkedIn page is going to be on the YouTube description below. So just take a snippet about what you do on LinkedIn, which is amazing. It's really, really amazing. I love her content. Like I said, it's always fresh, always engaging, and a lot of fun stuff in it. So which is amazing. So yeah, we've come to the end of the session. See ya. And if you love this content, do it to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to me. And make sure to watch this video to the end because there are a lot of things for you, a lot of things. So thank you, Sia. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a moment.